Hello, people of the internet, and welcome back to Rushman Productions. This is the review of Sandman Season 2. And let me tell you, it was probably one of the good comic book shows that we have had in recent times, and even overall, too. It was one of the coolest and one of the greatest adaptations of any comic books I have ever seen, especially season 2, because I like a good mythology. I like a good, like this rich legend kind of mythological stuff going on in there, and season 2 delivered that. Season 1 was kind of very grounded because Sandman wasn't in his full power. He was powered down, his power was taken away, and the journey was about getting his own powers back. So by the end of season 1, his powers had gotten back. In season 2, he's a lot more powerful, and to compete with that, you need more powerful beings. You need kind of these myths and these gods to compete with that, and that is what we exactly see in season 2. Now, before we continue on with the review, go check out my new song Baate, which is from my mixtape The Post Mrityु Corpus. It is out right now, so go check it out and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more such videos about comic book movies, about superheroes and comic books themselves. And so there is an update that I will be giving in the next episode of Comic Week, so make sure to stay tuned. Next Friday there is an update coming about the chronology, or how how I'm changing up some things around the channel and around Comic Week itself. So this season starts off very simple. It takes on like this kind of light-hearted, enjoyment full first half, where they go find their brother with his destruction. So there are like these siblings, the endless, who make up all these different forms like dream, desire, delirium, death, despair, destruction. All of them start with the D, and the most important one is destiny. Of course, he is the eldest of them all, and they are all siblings, and they are doing their duties, they are performing their duties. So season 1 starts with kind of dealing with Lucifer, as he has abandoned hell, so to look out for a new successor for hell. Who will be that? So there is like this kind of a wooing ceremony at the court of the Sandman, and many different people from like all across the mythologies and all these different and kind of spirit people, some fairy people, some god from Norse mythology, some old Japanese god come in. But in the end, like, the dominion of hell goes to the angels themselves, because of course it is under God. But what made it interesting was there were the manhunters, who are actually like this early version of the people of Oa, like the Green Lanterns kind of core, like where the Green Lantern's core is Oa. So they are like the predecessors to that I guess. And that is what kind of made it interesting for me, because Sandman is part of the DC universe. It is part of like the outer worlds of the DC universe, and there is a Sandman called Wesley Dodds in Justice Society of America, and which we also got a kind of sneak peek, or kind of a look at in the Superman movie, in the murals at the Hall of Justice. So there is a Sandman in the DC universe right now, but this was kind of different. This was kind of away from that whole DC thing. Surely there were many kind of these name changes that were happening in this series to like not really like just correlate to the real DC counterparts. Like John Constantine was made into Joanna Constantine. I mean, it's all fun and good, but I kind of hoped for some kind of real DC characters to be in there. And it was, honestly, that is what kind of got me hooked in season 2, that seeing so many different characters with rich history, with kind of have their own personality, and that being built up, it was good. I liked discovering these different realms, these different kind of things and their powers. There was even Loki in this series, even Odin, Thor. So it was interesting to have another take at a very popular kind of mythological side that we already have in the MCU, but show it in like a kind of different sense, a kind of nominal sense, because the MCU one is kind of more exaggerated with more CGI and stuff like that. This one was kind of condensed, because of course you do not have that much time to portray all of their things, but the way they hint towards their stories, the way they put in some facts here and there in between the dialogues and stuff like that, that is very interesting to see. And of course, after that, they go on to find Destruction, their brother, and that is a nice little quest. Dream goes on with the youngest sibling, which is Delirium, and they go and find their brother. But as they are going through that, they kind of find their own, like Dream finds his own son. So I mean, that is what changes the plot of the second, like that is what, like this is the thing that changes the kind of the narration of the second part of the Sandman season 2. This is the main event that changes the direction of season 2. So of course, spoilers ahead, because I mean, I hope you have watched the show. So basically, Sandman kills his son Orpheus, and the reason he has killed his son is because his son was immortal, and so only an endless can kill him. Only a being of such power can kill him. So he kills his own son, and because of that, the Furies, the three ladies, the Furies, the kindly ones, they kind of go after Dream now, because Dream has killed someone from his own family, and that is called a blood debt. So a blood debt has to be fulfilled, and so the Dream of the Endless must die. And that is the plot of the second half of the story, and how kind of Dream wants to not die. So there is some dilemma here and there. So he has to come at peace with it, come at peace with dying, and okay with change, and okay with not being, alive. So that is kind of the thing in the second half. But at the end of the series, as Dream dies, there is another Dream of the Endless, another incarnation, another kind of, another form of Dream, which is the child Daniel Hall, who was conceived in the dreaming, but he was a human who was conceived in the dreaming. So he was the first human to be the Endless. And this also was very interesting to see that these people, these Endless, are actually, they can die. It is not that they are yes, they are forever, but their forms can change. And that is what was interesting. And we also got to know that despair was also like this despair that we see in the Sandman series is actually the second despair that was like that changed form or was reincarnated in like 100,000 years ago. And which was very interesting to see that these things can happen. And we also get to know that the parents of all these Endless are time and like the darkness. So darkness is the mother and time is the fathers, and they are actually the parents of the Endless. So that is what I actually really liked, how they built upon like these different realms, these different characters, and how they're related. Their functions is in this whole hierarchy. There is God, there are these angels, there are the Endless, there are demons, and there are like these gods of different mythologies, their own realms and sections, and there are like these different people from a different dimension. So it was just very interesting to see that. I love that, because you have so many characters and you let them play out as their own, like whatever their part in this whole big overarching scenario is. So it is beautiful to see that. Of course, the prominent character in part 2 was Loki, and I think the guy played fantastic role. Like his character was good, amazing. Actually, Loki, like even though we have Tom Hiddleston as Loki, even having that set in mind, this guy kind of made his own presence as Loki, especially in this show. And disregarding everything else, his character portrayal was nice. It was good to see another take on Loki. And honestly, with all these different variants in the MCU of Loki, it was kind of very kind of heartwarming to see another take of Loki, and it was good as well. And honestly, that was it. And there was like this special episode at the end, which was like that, like it was like a special episode of death, where she has to convince this this guy who was going to commit suicide, but then she kind of, it was her day off, so she lives with this guy, and they like go on with the things in life, and they go enjoy and go out in nature, they party and stuff like that. So even this special episode was great. I actually liked the special episode this time. The special episode in the first season, it was kind of boring. This one kind of felt interesting. It kind of felt more intriguing in that part. It felt nice to have some flavor in there. First one felt kind of boring to me, I'm not going to lie. The like the special episode in the first season, and also comparing second season to the first one, yes, I liked the season 2 very much, like way above season 1. Season 1 was kind of boring. It kind of took me time to go through season 1. Like I do remember I watched like 3-4 episodes, then I took a break of like 6 months from watching Sandman, and then I continued on with it. And so it was, yeah, season 1 was kind of boring to me, but season 2 was not. It got me hooked, and I mean, of course, it still took me time to see it, but as you can see, because the review is late, and that is because they just release all the episodes together, so it kind of takes me time to see that. And that is why I kind of prefer the weekly format where they release 1 or 2 episodes, so it is kind of easy to watch here and there, like 1 episode, 2 episodes, it's done. But to sit through like 6 hours of content continuous, I cannot do that, man. It is not one of my abilities to do that, so I kind of like that format. But still, it was a good series, a good season 2. And in fact, this was the last season from this, like the Sandman series, and probably they are not making any more Neil Gaiman stuff because of some allegations. So I don't know what the process is, or like how they are going to, I don't know, go through with it. But I have also started watching the Dead Boy Detectives, which is also kind of connected to this Sandman universe. And in episode 1, there is like this cameo of Death, and so I'm interested to see where this series leads and how it connects more, or if not, how it expands more on this Sandman universe, because this universe is pretty interesting, man. Neil Gaiman has wrote very interesting stuff. I've recently started reading his book. It is called Ocean at the End of the Lane, and I'm just reading it, and I'm almost halfway through it, and there are some kind of references to dream and like the dreams, the waking world and stuff like that here and there, and that is interesting to see because it kind of reminds you of all this. And again, the writing is awesome in that book, and yeah, it's just a mystical world that you would love to live in and experience, and that is the whole Sandman series itself, and absolutely loved it. Kind of bummed that they are not moving on with season 3, because even the new dream of the Endless is, I'm ready to see more of that person too, because man, this whole universe, this whole like the Endless, it's all interesting, but I haven't read any of the comics. I know there are many comics, like I have to read them. There are like many dream comics, like the Endless comics. I have to read that, and I'm very much interested in reading that too. So yeah, I'll read that sometime, and that's it for this one. I'll see you in the next.